Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the starship Horizon, watching the stars streak past the viewport. 3 weeks had passed since they left Earth, and tomorrow they would arrive at Centrum, the headquarters of the Galactic Council. His hands gripped the rail in front of him as he thought about the weight of this mission. "Can't sleep again?" Dr. Lisa Grant walked up beside him, holding a cup of coffee in each hand. She offered one to Jake. "Thanks." Jake took the cup and sipped it slowly. "Just thinking about tomorrow. We're about to meet hundreds of alien species. Everything we say and do will represent all of humanity." Lisa nodded and looked out at the stars. She was a xenobiologist, one of the best Earth had. Her job was to study alien life, but until now, she had only worked with theories and simulations. Tomorrow, all of that would become real. "I've read through the files on the Council species at least 20 times, Lisa said. "The Sarkosians are reptilian and value strength. The Chitarians are insectoid and think in collective patterns. The Thune are humanoid, but taller and thinner than us. There are so many differences, and yet they all manage to work together," Jake added. 200 different species in one government. That's pretty impressive. Lieutenant Ben Carter joined them on the bridge. He was younger than Jake and Lisa, but he was the best pilot Earth had. He was also in charge of security for the mission, though everyone hoped they wouldn't need it. "I just got the latest transmission from Earth," Ben said. "The president sends her regards and says the whole planet is watching. No pressure or anything." Jake laughed, though it sounded a bit forced. "Great. Just what I needed to hear." Crime. The three of them stood in silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. The Horizon was humanity's first faster-than-light ship, built using plans that the Galactic Council had sent after detecting Earth's radio signals. The Council had a policy of reaching out to species that showed signs of advanced technology. It was meant to prevent conflict and bring new members into the fold peacefully. "Did you notice anything odd about the briefing materials?" Lisa asked suddenly. Jake turned to her. "Odd how?" "Well, every species profile mentions something about water management. The Sarkosians have moisture farms. The Chitarians use water reclamation systems. The Thune have strict conservation laws. It's in every single file." Ben shrugged. "Maybe water is just important to everyone. We use it for everything too." True," Lisa said, but she still looked thoughtful. "It just seems like they talk about it differently than we do." Jake made a mental note of it but didn't think too much about it. There were 1,000 other things to worry about before they arrived at Centrum. The next morning, the Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Centrum system. Jake sat in the command chair as Ben guided the ship toward the planet. The view screen showed a reddish-brown world with small polar ice caps and very few clouds. "That's Centrum?" Lisa sounded surprised. "It looks so dry." "According to the files, it's one of the more habitable worlds in the Council," Ben said. "I guess habitable is relative." As they got closer, they could see the capital city spreading across a vast plain. The buildings were tall and sleek, built from materials that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. There were no parks or green spaces that Jake could see, just endless structures connected by transit tubes. "Horizon. This is Centrum Traffic Control," a voice said through the speakers. The translation device built into their systems converted the alien language into English. "You are cleared for landing at Diplomatic Platform 7. Welcome to the Galactic Council." "Thank you, Control," Jake replied. "We're honored to be here." Ben brought the ship down smoothly, landing on a circular platform near the center of the city. Through the viewport, they could see a group of aliens waiting for them. Jake recognized the species from the files. There were several reptilian Sarkosians, a few insectoid Chitarians, and others he couldn't immediately identify. "Well, this is it," Jake said, standing up and straightening his uniform. "Let's go make history." The three humans walked to the airlock and waited as it cycled open. The air outside was breathable, but dry. Jake felt it in his throat immediately. They stepped out onto the platform, and the aliens approached. One of the Sarkosians came forward. He was tall, nearly 7 feet, with green scales and golden eyes. He wore robes that marked him as someone important. "I am Ambassador Krell of Sarkos," the alien said. His mouth didn't quite match the words, but the translator made it seem natural. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to Centrum." Jake extended his hand, a gesture they had been told was acceptable. Krell looked at the hand for a moment, then grasped it carefully. His skin was cool and dry. "I'm Commander Jake Morrison. This is Dr. Lisa Grant and Lieutenant Ben Carter. We're grateful for the invitation to join the council." Krell released Jake's hand and gestured toward a waiting vehicle. "Please, come. We have prepared quarters for you. Tomorrow, you will be presented to the full council. Tonight, you should rest and prepare." They climbed into the vehicle, which moved silently through the city. Jake watched the buildings pass by, trying to take in everything at once. The architecture was beautiful, but strange. Everything seemed designed for maximum efficiency. There were no decorative fountains, no green spaces, nothing that seemed unnecessary. "Your world must be very different from this," Krell said, noticing Jake's interest. "Very different," Lisa agreed. "Earth has a lot more vegetation, more color." "Vegetation requires water," Krell said. There was something in his tone that Jake couldn't quite read. "Your world must have significant underground reserves to support such growth." "We have some underground water," Lisa said, "but most of it is on the surface." Krell turned to look at her fully. "Surface water? You mean atmospheric moisture?" "No, I mean lakes and rivers and oceans." The vehicle swerved slightly, and Jake realized that Krell had tensed up. The ambassador stared at Lisa for a long moment, before turning back to face forward. "I see," was all he said. The rest of the ride passed in uncomfortable silence. Jake glanced at Lisa, who looked confused by Krell's reaction. Ben kept his hand near his sidearm, his training making him cautious of the sudden tension. When they reached their quarters, Krell showed them inside quickly. The rooms were comfortable but sparse. Everything had a purpose. Nothing was there just for decoration. "Rest well," Krell said. "Tomorrow will be a very important day." He left before they could ask any questions. As soon as the door closed, Lisa turned to Jake. "Did I say something wrong?" "I don't know," Jake admitted. "But we need to be more careful. We don't understand their culture yet." And Ben walked to the window and looked out at the city. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the buildings. In the distance, he could see what looked like industrial facilities with large tanks. "I think we're missing something," Ben said quietly. "Something big." Jake joined him at the window. Somewhere out there, hundreds of alien species were preparing to meet humanity for the first time. And somehow, without meaning to, they had already caused a stir. Tomorrow would bring answers. Jake just hoped they would be ready for them. The council chamber was the largest room Jake had ever seen. It stretched upward for what seemed like hundreds of feet, with seating arranged in circular tiers that rose toward the ceiling. Each section held representatives from different worlds, and Jake could see hundreds of different species looking down at them. The 3 humans stood on a platform in the center of the chamber. A spotlight illuminated them, while the rest of the room remained in shadow. Jake felt exposed, but he kept his back straight and his expression calm. "The council recognizes the delegation from Earth." A deep voice echoed through the chamber. Jake looked up to see an ancient being seated at the highest tier. This was Elder Thane, the council chair. His species was unknown to the humans, but he looked vaguely humanoid, with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow faintly. "Thank you, Elder Thane," Jake said. His voice was amplified somehow, carrying to every corner of the massive room. "We are honored to stand before you today. You seek admission to the Galactic Council, Elder Thane continued. This is a serious matter. Once admitted, your world becomes part of our community. You will have responsibilities, as well as rights. Do you understand this? We do, Jake confirmed. Then present your credentials. Lisa stepped forward and activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the air above them, showing cities, technology, and scientific achievements. She spoke clearly and confidently about humanity's development, their space program, and their scientific understanding. The council members watched in silence. Jake couldn't read their expressions, but he felt they were being evaluated carefully. When Lisa finished, there was a moment of quiet before the questions began. A Chitarian delegate, an insectoid with multiple limbs and compound eyes, spoke first. Your technology level is adequate for membership. But we must understand your world's resources. What does Earth possess that you would contribute to the Council? Lisa glanced at Jake, who nodded for her to continue. Earth has many resources, Lisa said. We have diverse plant and animal life. We have metals and minerals. We have a stable atmosphere with oxygen and nitrogen. And we have abundant water. The chamber remained silent, but Jake noticed some delegates leaning forward in their seats. Another delegate spoke up. This one from the Thune homeworld. He was tall and thin, with pale skin and large eyes. When you say abundant water, please clarify. Do you mean atmospheric moisture or ice deposits? Both, Lisa said. But we also have liquid water on the surface of our planet. We have rivers that flow across the land. We have lakes scattered across the continents. And we have oceans. The translator seemed to struggle with the last word. Several delegates touched their communication devices, apparently checking if the translation was correct. Counselor Vex, another Chitarian, stood up from her seat. Her voice was sharp. Define ocean. Lisa looked confused by the intensity of the question. An ocean is a large body of salt water. Earth has 5 major oceans. The largest one, the Pacific, covers about 64 million square miles. The number didn't seem to register with the council at first. Then, someone in the upper tiers made a choking sound. Another delegate stood up so quickly that their chair fell backward. Impossible, Counselor Vex said. Your translation must be malfunctioning. No malfunction, Lisa said, starting to realize something was very wrong. Our planet's surface is about 70% water. The oceans are deep too. The average depth is about 12,000 feet, and some places go much deeper. The chamber erupted. Delegates were shouting in dozens of languages. Some were standing and pointing at the humans. Others seemed to be in shock, sitting motionless in their seats. Jake saw Ambassador Krell in one of the lower tiers, his golden eyes wide with what looked like disbelief. Elder Thane raised his hand, and the chamber slowly quieted, though the tension remained thick in the air. You claim that 70% of your planet's surface is covered in open, liquid water? Elder Thane's voice was steady, but Jake could hear the strain in it. Yes, Jake said, stepping forward. Is something wrong? Lev. A Thune delegate stood up, and Jake could see that the alien was trembling. My world has 3 billion people. We share a single aquifer that is 20 miles across and 300 feet deep. We have fought wars over that water. We have laws that control how many children each family can have because we cannot support more people with our water supply. And you stand there and tell us that your world is covered in water? The delegate's voice broke at the end, and he sat down heavily. Jake looked at Lisa and Ben, finally understanding the magnitude of what they had revealed. In the galaxy, water was not common. It was rare, precious, and Earth had more of it than these people could imagine. I think we need to explain, Jake said carefully. On Earth, water falls from the sky as rain. It collects in rivers and flows to the oceans. The sun evaporates water from the oceans, it forms clouds, and it falls as rain again. It's a cycle that happens constantly. Another delegate, This one from a species Jake didn't recognize spoke up. Water falls from your sky? Freely? Without collection systems? Yes, Lisa said quietly. The delegate sat down and put his head in his hands. Counselor Vex approached the platform where the humans stood. Her compound eyes reflected the light in strange patterns. You must prove this. We cannot accept such claims without evidence. Of course, Jake said. He pulled out a data tablet and uploaded Earth's satellite imagery to the Council's systems. The holographic display changed to show Earth from space. The blue planet rotated slowly, clouds swirling across its surface, sunlight glinting off the oceans. The chamber fell completely silent. Jake watched as delegates stared at the image. Some were making calculations on their devices. Others just sat frozen, unable to process what they were seeing. A Sarkosian scientist in the technical section began running verification programs. After several minutes, he stood up and addressed Elder Thane. The data is authentic, the scientist said. His voice sounded hollow. The spectral analysis confirms massive quantities of hydrogen and oxygen in liquid form. The atmospheric readings show humidity levels that should not be possible. Everything they say is true. Counselor Vex turned back to the humans. One of your oceans contains more water than exists on all of Chitara. My homeworld. 6 billion of my people survive on moisture extracted from underground ice and atmospheric collection. And you have 5 of these oceans? Yes, Lisa said. Vex's legs seemed to give out, and she sat down right there on the floor of the chamber. Elder Thane stood up from his seat. This session is suspended. The Council must deliberate on this new information. The human delegation will be escorted to their quarters. Ambassador Krell appeared beside them, his movements stiff and mechanical. Please, come with me. As they walked out of the chamber, Jake could hear the Council erupting into arguments behind them. Different species were shouting in their own languages, and the translators couldn't keep up with all of them. They rode back to their quarters in silence. Krell didn't speak and didn't look at them. When they arrived, he simply gestured for them to go inside. What happens now? Jake asked. Krell finally met his eyes. I do not know. In all of galactic history, nothing like this has ever happened. You must understand. To us, water is more valuable than any other resource. Wars have been fought for a fraction of what you possess. And you have been living on a world made of water, using it freely, without even knowing how rare it was. We didn't know, Lisa said. We had no idea. That much is clear, Krell said. He turned to leave, then stopped. There are species in this galaxy who would kill for what your world has. The Council will try to protect you, but I cannot promise they will succeed. You may have just made Earth the most valuable target in the known universe. He left them standing in the doorway. Inside their quarters, Ben immediately went to the window and looked out at the city. We need to contact Earth. They need to know what we've walked into. Jake nodded and moved to the communication terminal. As he prepared the message, he looked at Lisa. You couldn't have known. I should have realized, Lisa said. All the signs were there in the files. The water conservation, the reclamation systems, the way Krell reacted yesterday. We were so focused on making a good impression that we didn't see the obvious. The communication array connected to Earth, but there would be a delay in the response. Jake recorded their message, explaining everything that had happened. Then, they waited. Through the window, they could see news displays on the buildings starting to show images of Earth. The blue planet was being broadcast across Centrum, and probably across the entire galaxy. Jake woke up to the sound of urgent knocking on his door. He checked the time and saw that he had only been asleep for 3 hours. The knocking continued, hard and insistent. Coming, he called out, pulling on his uniform jacket as he moved to the door. Ambassador Krell stood outside with 2 other Sarkosian guards. His face was impossible to read, but his body language showed tension. The Council has reconvened, Krell said. They demand more proof. You must come now. 20 minutes later, Jake, Lisa, and Ben stood once again in the council chamber. This time, the room was even more crowded. Delegates who had been absent before were now present, and Jake could see that many of them looked like they hadn't slept either. Elder Thane sat in his elevated position, his glowing eyes fixed on the humans. The council has spent the night reviewing your data. Our scientists confirm that the information is consistent and appears genuine. However, the implications are so profound that we require additional verification. A new alien stepped forward from the technical section. She was small and covered in what looked like feathers, though they were metallic in color. I am Chief Scientist, Mira. I have analyzed your satellite data, your atmospheric readings, and your geological surveys. The numbers are beyond anything in our experience. I must ask direct questions to understand fully. Of course, Lisa said. Mira activated a holographic display that showed Earth's cross-section. Your data indicates that water exists not only on the surface, but also underground. Is this correct? Yes, Lisa confirmed. We have underground aquifers and water tables across most of the continents. In some places, if you dig deep enough, you'll find water. A murmur ran through the chamber. Mira continued, her voice shaking slightly. And this water on your surface, in these rivers and lakes and oceans, is it accessible? Can anyone simply take it? Lisa looked confused by the question. Well, yes. People swim in lakes. We fish in the oceans. We use rivers for transportation and recreation. Recreation? The word seemed to puzzle Mira. You use water for activities that are not essential to survival? We also drink it, Ben added, trying to be helpful. Every day. As much as we need. The chamber exploded again. Jake saw delegates grabbing onto their seats as if the floor had moved beneath them. One alien in the back rows collapsed entirely, and medical personnel rushed to help them. Elder Thane had to call for order 3 times before the noise died down. You drink fresh water daily? A Thune delegate asked, standing up. Not recycled water? Not moisture extracted from food? Fresh water? Yes, Jake said. We also use it to grow crops, to wash, to cool machinery. We use it in our industries. The Thune delegate sat down slowly. Jake could see tears running down the alien's face. Mira was making calculations on her device, her feathered hands moving rapidly. If your population is 8 billion, and each person uses even a fraction of what you describe, the daily water consumption would exceed the total annual water budget of 50 council worlds combined. That sounds about right, Lisa said. Though she was clearly uncomfortable with the reaction this was causing, another scientist stood up, this one a Chitarian named Zek. I have a question about your oceans. You said they contain salt water. Do you also have sources of fresh water? Yes, Lisa said. Rain is fresh water. Rivers and most lakes are fresh water. We also have ice at the poles and on mountaintops. When it melts, it's fresh water. Zek sat down without another word. Counselor Vex approached the platform again. She had regained her composure from the previous day, but her voice was tight with controlled emotion. I need you to understand what you are telling us. On Chitara, every drop of water is precious. When a person dies, we reclaim the water from their body. It is considered the greatest gift they can give to future generations. We have technology that can extract moisture from the air, but our atmosphere is so dry that we can only gather small amounts. Children learn mathematics by calculating water ratios. Our entire civilization is built around the scarcity of water. She paused and looked directly at Lisa. And you are telling me that on Earth, water falls from the sky and you use it for fun? Lisa didn't know what to say. The silence stretched out uncomfortably. A new voice spoke up from one of the higher tiers. Jake looked up to see an alien he hadn't noticed before. This one was large, and covered in thick, rough skin that looked almost like stone. I am Delegate Gorn, from the world of Throck. We are a mining people. We dig deep into our planet to find ice deposits. Sometimes, we dig for years and find nothing. When we do find ice, it is cause for celebration. Entire families are supported by single ice veins. I have spent my life in the deep mines, searching for water to keep my people alive. Gorn's voice grew stronger. I do not blame you for what your world has. But you must understand that what seems normal to you is a miracle to us. The council must decide how to handle this situation. And it will not be simple. Elder Thane stood up, drawing everyone's attention. The human delegation has proven their claims. Earth possesses water in quantities that exceed our previous understanding of what is possible. This presents the council with a situation we have never faced before. He looked down at Jake. You must also understand your position. Earth is not yet a member of the council. You have no treaty protections. No allies bound by law to defend you. And now, every species in the galaxy knows that your world holds the most valuable resource in existence. The threat was clear, even though Elder Thane's tone remained neutral. Jake stepped forward. What are you saying? I am saying that the council must go into emergency session. There are those who will argue that Earth should be protected, brought into the council immediately, and helped to defend itself. There are others who will argue that such wealth cannot be held by a single world, that it must be shared for the good of all. And there are some who may not wish to argue at all. Krell moved closer to the humans, his hand resting on a weapon at his belt. You will be returned to your quarters. For your safety, you will remain there until the council reaches a decision. As they were escorted out, Jake noticed that the guards around them had doubled. They weren't just being protected. They were being detained. Back in their quarters, Ben immediately went to the communication terminal. The response from Earth came in while we were gone. He played the message. The president appeared on the screen, her face grave. Commander Morrison, we have received your report. The situation you describe is deeply concerning. Our scientists are reviewing all data about galactic water scarcity. We are mobilizing our military forces as a precaution, but we understand that we are not prepared for a conflict with advanced alien civilizations. She paused, choosing her words carefully. You are authorized to negotiate on behalf of Earth. Do what you must to keep our world safe. We trust your judgment. The message ended. No pressure, Ben said quietly. Lisa was looking at her data tablet, reading through files. I've been going through the medical data they sent us about the council species. There's something here. Almost all of them have biological adaptations for extreme water efficiency. They can survive on a fraction of the water that humans need. Their bodies are designed for a dry environment. What does that mean for us? Jake asked. It means we're vulnerable, Lisa said. If we were stranded on any of their worlds, we would die of dehydration quickly. But it also means something else. Our biology evolved around water abundance. We're literally made of water. That makes us unique, in a way that might be useful. Our Compson. Before Jake could ask what she meant, the door opened. Ambassador Krell entered, looking exhausted. The council is divided, he said without preamble. The Thune Confederation has made a formal offer to purchase water from Earth. They are offering their entire planetary treasury and all of their advanced technology in exchange for just 1% of your oceans. 1%, Ben repeated. That's still an enormous amount of water. To them, it would mean survival for generations, Krell said. Their offer is genuine. And the others? Jake asked. Krell's expression darkened. The Sarkozian Empire is moving warships toward your sector of space. They claim it is for defensive purposes only, but the Council is not certain. There are also reports of mercenary groups being hired by unknown parties. Water pirates exist in the galaxy, though they usually target shipments, not entire planets. Now, They see Earth as the ultimate prize. What about the Council itself? Lisa asked. What is Elder Thane proposing? He is trying to build a coalition to protect Earth. He wants to bring you into the Council immediately and establish a defensive perimeter around your system. But in exchange, Earth would need to agree to some form of water-sharing program. We can't make that decision alone, Jake said. We need to consult with Earth's government. There may not be time, Krell said. The Council will reconvene in 6 hours. A decision must be made. Oh, the 6 hours passed too quickly. Jake spent most of it in communication with Earth, though the time delay made real conversation impossible. He sent updates and received responses. But ultimately, he knew the decisions would have to be made here, in this moment. Lisa had barely looked up from her research. She had been combing through data about Council species, their biology, their history, and their relationships with one another. Ben had been monitoring communications, trying to get a sense of what was happening across the galaxy. It's everywhere, Ben said, looking at the news feeds scrolling across his screen. Every major network in Council space is talking about Earth. Some are calling it the water world. Others are calling it the prize. There are already ships heading toward our solar system. How many? Jake asked. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Some are probably just curious, but others. Ben trailed off, leaving the thought unfinished. A message came through on the priority channel. Jake opened it and saw the face of Admiral Kate Brooks, the head of Earth's Space Defense Force. Commander Morrison, we've detected ships entering our solar system. They're not making hostile moves yet, but they're also not responding to our hails. We're tracking at least 40 vessels, and more are appearing every hour. Whatever you're going to do, you need to do it fast. Jake closed the channel and looked at his team. We're out of time. Ambassador Krell arrived to escort them back to the Council chamber. As they walked through the corridors, Jake noticed that the city outside had changed. The streets were crowded with aliens, many of them watching news displays that showed Earth's oceans. Some looked amazed. Others looked angry. The revelation about your world has caused chaos, Krell said. There are protests outside the Council building. Some demand that Earth be forced to share its water. Others argue that Earth should be left alone. The Council has never been so divided. When they entered the chamber, Jake saw that even more delegates had arrived, with some species standing in the aisles because there were no seats left. Elder Thane called the session to order, though it took several minutes for the noise to die down. We will hear proposals from the major factions, Elder Thane announced. The Thune Confederation will speak first. A Thune delegate that Jake recognized from before stood up. His name was Delegate Finn, and his voice carried the weight of desperation. The Thune Confederation formally proposes a purchase agreement with Earth. We offer all of our technological advances, including our faster-than-light engines, our medical knowledge, and our agricultural systems. We offer our entire planetary treasury, which amounts to resources worth more than most civilizations possess. In exchange, we ask for just 1% of Earth's ocean water. Finn's voice broke slightly. My people are dying. We have lived with water scarcity for thousands of years. We have fought wars. We have watched children go thirsty. We have built our entire civilization around the desperate search for water. Please, we are not asking for charity. We are offering fair trade for something that could save my species. The chamber was silent as Finn sat down. Jake felt the weight of that plea. These were real people, suffering from something Earth had in abundance. Another delegate stood up. This one, a Sarkosian general named Krax. His voice was hard and cold. The Sarkosian Empire also recognizes Earth's value. However, we question whether such a resource should remain in the hands of a single, technologically inferior species. We propose that Earth be placed under Council protection as a shared resource. All species would have access to water based on need. Earth's inhabitants would be relocated to other suitable worlds and compensated fairly. The threat in his words was barely hidden. Jake felt Ben tense beside him, ready to fight if necessary. "That is not a proposal," Jake said loudly. "That is an invasion plan." "It is practical," Krax replied. "Your species numbers only 8 billion. You cannot possibly use all the water your planet contains. Why should you hoard it while others suffer?" Elder Thane held up his hand before Jake could respond. "The chair recognizes that this is not an acceptable proposal. Earth is an inhabited world with a sovereign population. The Council does not seize planets from their inhabitants. Then perhaps the Council is too weak to do what is necessary," Krax said, sitting down with a gesture of disgust. A third delegate stood, this one from a species Jake didn't recognize. She was small and delicate-looking, with skin that seemed to shimmer. "I am Delegate Iris from the Collective of Free Worlds. We propose a different approach. Earth should be immediately granted full membership in the Council, with all the protections that entails. In exchange, Earth would establish a controlled water export program. The amounts would be carefully calculated to ensure Earth's ecosystem is not harmed. Payment would be made in technology, resources, and military protection." She looked directly at Jake. "This way, Earth maintains sovereignty while helping those in need. It is cooperation, not conquest." There were murmurs of approval from many delegates, but also sounds of disagreement from others. Councillor Vex stood up. "I support this proposal, with one addition. Any water exported from Earth must be accompanied by education. The humans should teach us how to better manage our own water resources. They have lived with abundance, so they understand water in ways we do not. Perhaps we can learn to make more efficient use of what we have." Lisa stepped forward before Jake could stop her. "I've been researching your biology," she said. "Many of you have adaptations that make you incredibly water efficient, but you've never developed the kind of agriculture or terraforming techniques that Earth has. We could help with that. We could teach you how to create artificial water cycles, how to terraform marginal worlds, how to engineer plants that can survive in dry conditions." Chief Scientist Mira stood up, her metallic feathers ruffling with interest. "You would share this knowledge?" "Knowledge should be free," Lisa said. "We can't give water to everyone who needs it. There's not enough time and not enough ships. But we can teach you how to find and manage water better. We can help you make your worlds more livable." The chamber erupted in discussion. Jake could see delegates conferring with each other, considering this new angle. Elder Thane stood. "This is a promising direction. However, we must address the immediate security concerns. Commander Morrison, our sensors show numerous ships entering your solar system. What are Earth's defensive capabilities?" Jake didn't want to answer truthfully, but lying would be pointless. "We have some weapons, but nothing that could stand against a concentrated attack from advanced civilizations. We're not prepared for war." "Then Earth is vulnerable," General Krax said with satisfaction. "Another reason why Council protection is necessary." "Protection or occupation?" Ben shot back. Krell suddenly stepped forward. "The Sarkozian Empire does not speak for all Sarkozians. I propose that my people contribute ships to Earth's defense. We are warriors, but we are also honorable. Earth has something we need, and we should protect it, not conquer it." Krax glared at Krell but said nothing. Other delegates began standing, offering support. The Chitarians offered defensive technology. The Thune offered medical supplies and food production. A dozen smaller species pledged ships to help guard Earth. Jake felt a spark of hope. They were seeing Earth not as a target, but as something worth protecting. "We need time," Jake said. "Time to set up proper agreements. Time to establish fair trade. Time to create the systems that would make all of this work. Can the Council guarantee Earth's safety while we work out the details?" Elder Thane considered this. "The Council can issue a protection order. Any attack on Earth would be considered an attack on the Council itself. This would give us legal authority to defend your world. However, such orders require a majority vote. Then I call for a vote Delegate Iris said. The voting process was complex, with each species having a weighted vote based on various factors. Jake watched as the numbers appeared on a holographic display. The count was close. Many species voted in favor of protecting Earth, but others abstained or voted against it. Finally, the total appeared. The protection order had passed, but by the smallest possible margin. Earth is now under Council protection, Elder Thane declared. Any hostile action against Earth will be met with the full force of the Council's combined military. Jake felt relief wash over him, but he knew this was just the beginning. They still had to work out how Earth would share its water, how to prevent exploitation, and how to keep their world safe in the long term. As the session ended, delegates approached the humans. Some wanted to shake their hands. Others wanted to ask questions about Earth. A few just wanted to see the beings who lived on a world of water. Through it all, Jake kept thinking about Admiral Brooks' message. Ships were still arriving at Earth. The Council's protection order might keep the major powers at bay. But what about pirates, desperate refugees, or species that didn't recognize Council authority? They had survived the first crisis, but Jake knew that harder challenges were coming. 3 days of intense negotiations followed the protection order. Jake barely slept, spending every waking hour in meetings with different Council factions. Lisa worked with scientists from a dozen worlds, trying to calculate how much water Earth could safely export without damaging the planet's ecosystem. Ben coordinated with Earth's military, organizing the arrival of Council defense ships around the solar system. On the 4th day, Jake sat in a small conference room with the key players. Elder Thane was there, along with Delegate Finn from Thune, Counselor Vex from Chitara, Ambassador Krell, and Chief Scientist Mira. Lisa and Ben sat beside Jake, both looking as exhausted as he felt. "We cannot continue like this," Elder Thane said. "Every hour we delay, more ships arrive at Earth. Some are peaceful, some are not. We need a comprehensive agreement that everyone can accept." Jake had been working on an idea, refining it with input from Earth's government. Now was the time to present it. "I have a proposal," Jake said. "We call it the Watershed Agreement." He activated a holographic display that showed the framework they had developed. Here's how it works. First, Earth joins the Galactic Council as a full member with special status. We maintain complete sovereignty over our planet and our water resources. "That is reasonable," Elder Thane said. "Continue." Second, we establish the Water Distribution Authority. This would be a new council agency, staffed by both humans and representatives from water-scarce worlds. The authority would manage all water exports from Earth, according to strict guidelines. Delegate Finn leaned forward. "What guidelines?" Lisa pulled up a chart. "We've calculated Earth's hydrological cycle. Water evaporates from the oceans, forms clouds, falls as rain, and flows back to the oceans. It's a continuous process. We can export water from this cycle without harming Earth's ecosystem, but only in controlled amounts." She highlighted specific numbers. "We propose exporting no more than 0.01% of Earth's total ocean volume per year. That's about 13 billion cubic meters. It sounds like a lot, but it's a tiny fraction of our total water, and the cycle replenishes it naturally." Counselor Vex made calculations on her device. "That amount could support millions of my people for years. And you say it would not harm Earth?" "Our scientists confirm it," Lisa said. "The Earth has natural variation in ocean levels that exceeds this amount. We would essentially be skimming from the surplus." Mira studied the data carefully. "The mathematics appear sound. But how would distribution work? Who decides which worlds receive water?" "That's where the authority comes in," Jake explained. "Distribution would be based on need, not wealth or power. Worlds in crisis would get priority. Payments would be made in technology, resources, or services that Earth needs. No species would be excluded based on their size or influence." Krell spoke up. "This could work. But what prevents Earth from changing the terms later? What guarantees do we have? The authority operates independently, Jake said. Once it's established, even Earth's government cannot unilaterally change the export quotas. Any changes would require approval from the authority's board, which includes representatives from across the council. Elder Thane nodded slowly. You are proposing to give up control over your most valuable resource. We're proposing to share it responsibly, Jake corrected. But there's more to the agreement. Mest. He pulled up another section. Earth is willing to do more than just export water. We want to help Council worlds become more water independent. We propose the Galactic Greening Initiative. Lisa took over the presentation. Human scientists will work with alien scientists to develop better water management systems. We'll share our knowledge of terraforming, atmospheric processing, and water recycling. We'll help you engineer crops that can grow in dry conditions. We'll teach you techniques that we've learned from living on a water-rich world. You would share this knowledge freely? Mira asked, her voice full of disbelief. Not freely, Jake admitted. In exchange, we want access to your technology. Your faster-than-light engines are better than ours. Your medical knowledge could save human lives. Your defensive systems could protect Earth. We want to trade knowledge for knowledge. Delegate Finn stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city. For thousands of years, my people have struggled. We have fought wars over drops of water. We have watched our population decline because we cannot support more people. And now, you offer us not just water, but the knowledge to find more ourselves. He turned back to face them, and Jake saw tears on his face. This is more than we hoped for. This is more than we dreamed possible. There's one more component, Jake said. He pulled up a star map, showing hundreds of uninhabited worlds. These are planets that the Council has surveyed but deemed unsuitable for colonization due to lack of water or hostile atmospheres. We propose establishing hydrocolonies on some of these worlds. Hydrocolonies? Joint settlements, Jake explained. Earth would provide water and biological expertise to terraform these planets. Council species would provide the technology and labor. The colonies would be co-governed by humans and the species who helped establish them. Over time, we could create a network of water-rich worlds instead of just one. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. This wasn't just about sharing Earth's water. It was about fundamentally changing the galaxy's relationship with water. This is ambitious, Elder Thane said finally. Perhaps too ambitious. The galaxy's water crisis didn't happen overnight, Lisa said. Solving it won't happen overnight either. But this is a start. A real start. Counselor Vex stood up. I support this proposal. The Chitarians will commit resources to the Greening Initiative and the Hydro Colonies. Thune supports it as well, Delegate Finn said immediately. Krell looked at Jake for a long moment. The Sarkosians are warriors. We are not known for patience or cooperation. But this proposal has merit. We will support it, and we will contribute our military might to protecting Earth and the Hydro Colonies. One by one, the delegates in the room voiced their support. Elder Thane watched them all, then nodded. I will present the watershed agreement to the full council tomorrow. I believe it will pass. That night, Jake stood in their quarters, looking at Earth on the view screen. The blue planet seemed so small from here, so fragile. But it was home, and soon it would be protected. Lisa joined him at the screen. Do you think this will work? I think it has to, Jake said. The alternative is war, exploitation, or both. Ben was monitoring reports from the solar system. Admiral Brooks says the Council defense ships have arrived. They're forming a perimeter around Earth. Some of the unknown ships are leaving. Probably pirates who realize Earth is too well defended now. The next day, the Council chamber was packed once again. Elder Thane presented the watershed agreement to the full assembly. The debate lasted for hours. Some species argued that Earth was getting too much in exchange for water. Others claimed that Earth wasn't giving enough. But slowly, steadily, support built. When the vote came, the watershed agreement passed with a large majority. Earth was officially a member of the Galactic Council. The Water Distribution Authority was established. The Greening Initiative received funding and personnel assignments, and the first 3 hydrocolonies were approved for development. Jake stood before the council for the formal admission ceremony. Elder Thane descended from his elevated seat and approached the human delegation. Earth is now part of the Galactic Council, Elder Thane said. You are no longer alone in the universe. You have allies, friends, and yes, responsibilities. But you also have our protection and our respect. He placed his hand on Jake's shoulder, a gesture of trust among his people. You came here with water, but you have given us something more valuable. You have given us hope. The chamber erupted in applause. Hundreds of different species, many of whom had been enemies just days ago, were united in celebration. A week later, the first water shipment left Earth. It was bound for Thune, carrying enough water to support their population for months. The payment had already been delivered, advanced medical technology that would save countless human lives. Jake, Lisa, and Ben stood on the bridge of the horizon, preparing to return home. Their mission had gone nothing like they expected, but it had succeeded beyond what anyone could have imagined. Ready to go home? Ben asked from the pilot's seat. More than ready, Jake said. As the horizon pulled away from Centrum, Jake thought about everything that had changed. Earth would never be the same. They were now part of something larger, something that spanned the galaxy. 2 months later, Jake stood in his backyard beside a lake. He had taken a leave of absence from active duty to spend time with his family and to process everything that had happened. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and he could smell rain coming. His communicator chimed. It was a message from Elder Thane. Commander Morrison, I wanted to inform you that the first hydrocolony has been established on the planet we are now calling New Hope. The terraforming is proceeding ahead of schedule. Rain fell on that world for the first time in its history yesterday. The colonists, both human and Thune, celebrated together. The message continued. I also wanted to tell you that we have received requests from over 50 council species to visit Earth. They do not come for negotiations or trade. They simply want to see the ocean. They want to witness rain. They want to understand what we have only read about in your reports. Jake smiled as the first raindrops began to fall. He tilted his face up to the sky, feeling the water on his skin. How many times had he experienced rain without thinking about it? How many times had he taken it for granted? Another message came through. The first delegation will arrive next month. I will be among them. I have lived for 300 years and traveled to 1,000 worlds, but I have never seen an ocean. I confess, I am eager. Jake looked out at the lake, at the rain falling on its surface, creating countless ripples. Somewhere out in the galaxy, beings were celebrating because they had received a shipment of water. Somewhere else, scientists were working together to make a dead world green again. And somewhere, a child on a dry planet was learning that rain was real, not just a story. The galaxy had changed, and Earth had changed with it. They had shared their abundance and received friendship in return. It wasn't perfect, and there would be challenges ahead, but for the first time in human history, they were truly part of a galactic community. Jake sent a reply to Elder Thane. We'll be honored to show you the ocean. Bring a towel. You might want to swim. He smiled as thunder rumbled in the distance. The rain fell harder now, soaking into the ground, filling the lake, continuing the endless cycle that made Earth unique. And soon, that cycle would extend to other worlds, bringing life to places that had known only dust and drought. The age of water had begun,